Hi, everyone. On March 28th, the Holy Orthodox Church celebrates the memory of a wonderful Georgian saint, Ioane of Manglisi. Now, Saint Ioane was nurtured in the David Garige wilderness in Georgia and was said to be full of every virtue. Because of this, after having embraced monasticism, he was ordained a hieromonk at a fairly early age, and not long after that, ordained bishop of Manglisi. He set about almost immediately constructing a wooden church where there were 11 souls that joined him to begin the proclamation of the gospel in that region. There were also a number of Muslims in that area that converted to the faith because of his efforts. Now, Saint Ioane was someone who did not engage, as far as we know, in great ascetic feats. There were no jaw-dropping miracles performed. There was no political intrigue going on or heresies that he had to rise up and defeat, as in the lives of so many, many other saints. Instead, his was rather a quiet life, although a busy one. His efforts became noticed by the Patriarch of Georgia and eventually even reached the ears of the King of Georgia, who at that time was corresponding with no less a personage than Peter the Great. Both of these potentates agreed that there was missionary work to be done along the Caspian seacoast. So eventually, St. Ioane left his home region and went out towards this area where the Volga meets the Caspian Sea and continued his very thorough missionary work. He went all around the region, even establishing a school for pastoral needs, one to help with the preparation of priests. Now, this went on for a number of years. He was, of course, born in 1768 and reposed in 1751. But as I said earlier, there was nothing particularly exciting about his life, unless, of course, you consider evangelization an exciting job, and many of us engaged in that certainly do. But St. Ioane was someone who led the humble way, the quiet way, and I think in this regard, he is very much a saint for all of us who lead the ordinary life, if you will, the one that is not encumbered by all sorts of political or theological obstacles that we have to try and overturn and defend the faith and work in many ways against invading hordes and, this sort of thing. Most of us don't do that. Most of us will not have to do that. And so sometimes we look at the lives of these other more exciting saints, if you will, and think, my goodness, how am I ever going to attain any degree of holiness without those sorts of challenges, and would I be up to those challenges? Well, the Lord puts us in the place where He knows that we should be, and so we should not wish for anything different to come along unless He directs us to that, and in which case, when He does that, it is something very certain that we will know. But St. Ioane was someone who simply dedicated his life to Christ and had great love and affection for his flock. And he went out place after place after place and simply tried to encourage those Christians that were there and bring other non-Christians into the fold, to solidify the faith in the area in which he resided, wherever that happened to be, to teach the people, to preach to them, to celebrate the many services of the church, and try to bring them along into the kingdom of heaven. This is the road that most of us must travel as well, and his life shows us that great holiness is indeed possible by doing this. St. Ioane reposed, as I said, in 1751, and even though, again, none of these spectacular things happened during his life, yet his relics, soon after his repose, were myrrh-gushing and miracle-working. They took him and buried him in the original wooden church that he had constructed at the beginning of his ministry, though about 10 years afterwards, the patriarch determined that his relics should be moved to a cathedral in Tbilisi, where they are residing today. And I think it's especially important for those of us who are participants in small missionary situations to understand that even as a bishop, Saint Ioane started with but 11 people, and it bore tremendous, tremendous fruit by the grace of God, and especially through his and their dedication. It is certainly something that we can all take heart from, knowing that in God's own time things will blossom if we are but faithful to his teachings and to the practices that he gives us through his Holy Orthodox Church. So, as Saint Ioane would no doubt encourage us, never stop, never give up in our efforts. Keep on that road that leads to salvation simply by doing the things, albeit humble ones, that the Lord has given us during the course